remember thinking that as I zipped the tent shut for the first time. The air was quiet, clean, almost polite. The kind of silence that makes you feel welcomed instead of warned. If someone had asked me then whether I felt alone, I would have said yes, without hesitation. That answer would not survive the week. This is the record of days 1 through 47, and the truth is simple. Even if it took me too long to accept it, I was not alone, but there was no one there. The first few days followed routine. I logged distances, checked supplies, marked landmarks. The terrain was predictable. Forest thinning into rock, rock breaking into narrow valleys. Nights were calm. No strange sounds. No movement outside the firelight. On day 4, I noticed my first mistake. I had counted my food twice before leaving. I was certain of it. But when I repacked my rations that morning, one meal was missing. Not eaten, not dropped, just gone. I blamed myself. Fatigue does that, so does excitement. I wrote it off and moved on. Day 7 brought the second mistake. My footprints. I woke early and stepped outside the tent. The ground was soft from overnight frost. My own boot prints were clear, leading away from camp, but next to them were others. Similar size, same tread pattern. They stopped at the edge of the clearing. I stood there longer than I want to admit, long enough for the cold to bite through my gloves. Then I convinced myself it was overlap, old tracks, optical confusion. It is impressive how far the mind will go to protect itself. By day 10, the feeling had settled in. Not fear, not panic, just awareness. Like the sense you get when someone is standing behind you, even if you cannot hear them. I started talking out loud, not because I was scared, but because silence felt crowded. Sometimes I heard something shift when I spoke. Not a response, just movement, a branch adjusting, gravel settling. Never close enough to see. Day 14 was the first night I slept with the knife in my hand. I had not heard anything, no steps, no breathing, but the fire burned lower than it should have, as if something had blocked the heat, and my pack was turned around, not opened, just facing the opposite direction. I began marking time differently. Days were no longer measured by distance, but by tension. How long could I go without noticing something off? The answer was not long. Day 18, I found the camp. It was not abandoned. That was the unsettling part. The fire pit was cold but intact. The shelter was recent. No rot, no collapse. Someone had been there recently, very recently. But there were no tracks leading away. I stayed anyway. Bad decision, I know that now. That night I dreamed of footsteps circling the shelter. Slow, patient, never stopping. When I woke, the ground around me was smooth. No marks, no evidence. Only the feeling that the dream had not stayed inside my head. From day 20 onward, the pattern repeated, objects shifting, sounds that stopped when I listened, the sense of being observed without being approached. I stopped checking behind me. Whatever it was did not follow like a predator. It shared space. That distinction matters more than I like. Day 26 was when I finally said it out loud. I am not alone. The words felt heavy, like they had been waiting. The forest did not respond, but the air changed, thicker, pressurized, as if something had acknowledged the statement. I stopped writing detailed notes after that. My handwriting changed. Smaller, tighter, less confident. Reading it now, I can see the fear settling into my movements before it reached my thoughts. Day 31 brought the voice. Not spoken, not heard. It was more like a suggestion that formed fully in my mind. A thought that did not feel like mine. Stay. It was not a command. That made it worse. It felt like reassurance. I packed immediately. Leaving took effort, not physically but mentally. Every direction felt wrong, not dangerous. Wrong, like choosing to leave a room where you had been expected to sit. By day 37, I stopped setting full camp. I slept lightly, moving often. I avoided clearings, avoided routine. The presence did not follow closer. It did not need to. On day 42, I reached the edge of the mapped region. I should have felt relief. Instead, I felt watched more intensely than ever, like a boundary had been crossed that was not meant to be. That night, I did not sleep at all. At dawn, I turned around one last time. The forest looked ordinary. Trees, shadows, nothing out of place. And yet I knew, with certainty, that if I stepped back inside, I would not leave again. Day 47 was extraction. The team asked me the usual questions. Did I see anyone? Did I hear animals? Did anything go wrong? I told them the truth. Nothing happened. That was easier for them to accept. But here is what the log does not show, what the maps do not record. Whatever shared that space with me never wanted to be seen. It did not chase. It did not threaten. It observed. It waited. And the most unsettling part is this. If I had stayed longer, I do not think it would have needed to hide anymore. I finished this diary because stories like this tend to get dismissed, labeled as isolation stress, sleep deprivation, overactive imagination. But patterns matter. Consistency matters. And I was consistent for 47 days. So here is the question I cannot answer. If you feel watched, but nothing is there, how long before you accept that something is choosing not to appear? Would you leave immediately? Or would you stay long enough for it to stop hiding? The next expedition log begins with someone who never made it to day 48. And according to their final entry, they were certain they were not alone, even though there was still no one there.